Are speedsters living in agony? This is the question that came to mind when I saw this scene from the show Invincible.
Olga, please. You can't see things how I do. My perception is just as fast as I am. The briefest conversation with anyone seems like hours to me. It's agony.
In this clip, Red Rush describes to his girlfriend the unrelenting agony that comes with his super speed. Red Rush's perception of time is as quick as he is, and so for him, time moves at a snail's pace. This made me curious. Do other speedsters suffer from this as well? During my research, I found that Quicksilver from Marvel Comics experiences this as well. In this comic panel, Quicksilver describes his perception as if his whole life was stuck in traffic. So today I want to dive into the mind of a speedster and evaluate how slow they perceive the world. To do this, we'll be using Sonic as our example today. Class, welcome to VGOLOGY, where we explore the psychology of our favorite video games. Now, there's a lot of debate out there on how fast Sonic really is, but there's a lot of evidence pointing towards the fact that Sonic is able to achieve the speed of light, which is 299,792,458 meters per second. Some evidence pointing towards this fact is that Sonic has an ability called the Lightspeed Dash. Across various Sonic games, Lightspeed Dash has been confirmed to move at light speed, as you might imagine based on the name. In Sonic Unleashed, the Lightspeed Dash has been shown to have a speed of around 360 to 400 SPD, which is an in-game measurement of speed. The best example I can find showcasing this is from a video by the YouTuber Maurice Kintelwar. In this video, he clocks in Lightspeed Dash at 385 SPD, so this is the unit we're going to go with in our calculations. The fastest max speed that I can find in Unleashed is in this video by Joshua Salked, where he clocks in an SPD of 4,399. So if light speed is 385, then 4,399 divided by 385 is approximately 11.3 if we round up. This means that Sonic's max speed is around 11.43 times faster than the speed of light. That's a massive 3,426,627,794 meters per second. Now, whether or not you agree with these measurements, I think it's safe to assume that at the very least, Sonic can react to light speed. Some pieces of evidence for this are that Sonic has dodged lasers on multiple occasions, Sonic is able to follow the curving path of rings during the Lightspeed Dash, and Sonic is able to aim towards enemies during the Lightspeed attack. So, given all of this, let's assume Sonic is moving at the speed of light for our calculations. In the level Spagonia in Sonic Unleashed, Sonic runs through a very narrow set of corridors that obstruct his line of sight. However, as Sonic moves through the corridor, he's able to react to all the upcoming obstructions in his way. For simplicity's sake, let's assume that Sonic is moving at the speed of light and that each of these corridors is about 100 meters long. With these numbers, we can approximate Sonic's reaction speed. Since time is equal to distance divided by speed, the time it would take for Sonic to travel 100 meters is 100 divided by the speed of light. After running through our calculations and multiplying by 1,000 to get milliseconds, we come out with a time of about 0.00033 milliseconds. That's the time it would take Sonic to travel 100 meters. That means Sonic can perceive and react to incoming visual stimulus within a time frame of 0.00033 milliseconds. To put that into perspective, the human benchmark has collected data from over 81 million participants and found that the average reaction time is about 284 milliseconds. About 30 milliseconds of this can be contributed to the delay time between the test starting and when it actually appears on the screen. So after factoring that in, the average reaction time is about 254 milliseconds. So now that we have both Sonic's reaction speed and the average human's reaction speed, we can calculate the difference between the two speeds. Sonic's reaction speed would be a whopping 76,969,600% increase from the average human's reaction speed. That means every minute for Sonic would feel like 76,969,600 minutes. To put that into perspective, there are about 525,600 minutes in a year. That means that every minute for Sonic would last around 146 years at his lowballed perception of the speed of light. If we use the calculation where he's 11.43 times faster than the speed of light that we calculated earlier, then that number skyrockets to about 1,674 years per minute for Sonic. And remember, this is when we're using reaction speed for our calculations and not perception speed, which tends to be even quicker. Since reaction speed includes perceiving a stimulus and then reacting to it, we can conclude that Sonic's true perception time is significantly higher. So, with all this information in hand, we can safely assume that Sonic is in a constant state of agony, right? Well, not necessarily. You see, there's a real-life phenomenon that is associated with perception speed slowing down. This slowdown of time usually occurs during extremely dangerous or near-death scenarios. A literature review conducted by Ralph Buckley condensed a large number of data points across extreme sports, accidents, and near-death scenarios, and produced 3 findings. The first is that individuals are capable of accelerated physical and mental actions when faced with dangerous situations. These actions tend to be extremely precise in nature. For example, Noyes and Cleddy translated Albert von St. Gallenheim's work, which found that 95% of climbers who had accidental falls reported experiencing a slowdown of time. They write, mental activity became enormous, rising to 100-fold in velocity or intensity. The relationship of the events and their probable outcomes were overviewed with objective clarity. No confusion entered at all. Time became greatly expanded. The individual acted with lightning quickness in accord with accurate judgment of his situation. Noyes and Cleddy then conducted 2 more studies, one in 1976 and another in 1977. In both studies, they found that during life-threatening events, 2 of the most commonly reported experiences are the slowdown of time and the increased speed of thought. Many of the subjects also reported increased focus and attention in order to help preserve their life, such as this recollection from a jet pilot during the Vietnam War. When the nose wheel strut collapsed, I vividly recalled in a matter of 3 seconds over a dozen actions necessary to a successful recovery of flight altitude. The procedures I needed were readily available. I had almost a total recall and felt in complete control. I seemed to be doing everything that I could and doing it properly. The second finding in Buckley's literature review is that slow time perception and action is unconsciously learned through experience and training. Skilled practitioners of a dangerous sport are able to perform highly precise and complicated actions during dangerous situations. However, less skilled participants only experience confusion and are prone to panicking or freezing. The third finding is that trained individuals, at least to some degree, are able to tap into this mental state intentionally. Buckley suggests that this is part of the pumping up process that athletes go through when preparing for a performance. This mental state could be related to what is called the flow state in positive psychology. A flow state is when a person becomes fully immersed and focused on a present moment. In sports, this is commonly referred to as being in the zone. Jean Nakamura and her colleague, whose name I'm just gonna show you on screen because I know I'm gonna butcher it, they identify a flow state as containing the following 6 components: intense and focused concentration on the present moment, a merging of action and awareness, a loss of reflective self-consciousness, a sense of personal control or agency over the situation, a distortion of experience where subjective time is altered, and an experience of the activity becoming intrinsically rewarding and enjoyable. With the exception of the last component, we can see that these components are all present in the recollections of the near-death participants. However, if this flow state can be tapped into during non-lethal situations, as Buckley suggests, then it would make sense why the last component of enjoyment is present. Arstella suggests that the neuromechanism responsible for the slow time perception is the norepinephrine system. This system is largely responsible for regulating the body's fight or flight response. During stressful or dangerous situations, there's an increase in the norepinephrine released in the body. Norepinephrine is a hormone and a neurotransmitter that increases arousal and alertness, promotes vigilance, enhances formation and retrieval of memory, and focuses attention. Through this process, the mind filters out non-vital information during near-lethal situations and focuses on information necessary for survival. In a similar vein, this person suggests that attention is the limited resource and a flow state is triggered by concentrating all focus on the task at hand. It's possible that the people who are able to perform at this level are also able to intentionally hijack our body's natural processes of fight or flight in order to obtain this mental state. So, how does all of this relate to our examination of speedsters? Well, based on these studies, we can reasonably conclude that some speedsters may be able to intentionally tap into a flow state prior to entering superhuman speed and perception. Although some speedsters such as Red Rush and Quicksilver seem to lack the ability to do so, this doesn't mean that all speedsters can't. In fact, the idea of tapping into a flow state is exactly how Flash describes his states of perception. In this panel, the Flash describes having a normal sense of perception and then a speed mode. The Flash then goes on to say that his speed mode will also kick in automatically sometimes when he is in danger. He gives us the example of a time when he entered his speed mode due to feeling the heat of a bullet on his skin. This is actually in line with psychological literature. Arstella draws upon some studies from Aston Jones and colleagues that show that during dangerous situations, the norepinephrine system spikes almost immediately after the initial stimulus and precedes conscious behavior. This is why the effects of slow time perception can play out even in situations lasting only a few seconds, such as car accidents. Due to this process, even if a speedster is in their normal state of perception, dangerous stimuli can trigger an almost near instant response of the norepinephrine system. This would cause them to go into their speed perception and allow them to react to any situation. So, in summary, not all speedsters are living in agony. Some speedsters are able able to tap into their speed states at will, or when forced to do so by a dangerous situation. If you enjoyed this video and want to test your reflexes, see how fast you can hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know what other characters or topics you want to see covered in the comments below. As always, thanks for checking out VGOLOGY. Class dismissed.